Hello and welcome to this video on... It's a big ship. Squeeze in. Keeps blowing my mind away. Spears. Wheels. Actually this one.
The wind just cut through your fingers.
Or whether they simply ran out of supplies, giving you some kind of inspiration. Hello and welcome to this rather special video. I'm calling these GM Out and About because I like doing these videos where we look at structures of significance and then we'll discuss them from a role-playing perspective. Now I happen to be here in deepest, darkest San Diego in the US of A, and I've come to a particular site which I wanted to have a look at for a whole bunch of reasons, and you can see it behind me. And still behind me, and still behind me, and still behind me, and still behind me. This is the USS Midway, and it's massive. You cannot fathom just how monstrous this beast is. So I'm going to be wandering around here, finding different things. Now, from a role-playing perspective, of course, I'm looking at this saying, okay, just look at the detail. I mean, look at the chases, sequences, drawing maps of this complexity. But so we're looking at it from a setting of, say, a World War II setting. Obviously we're looking at it from a scale perspective, so this could also work for starships. I mean, imagine if this was a Star Destroyer, it would be very, very similar in terms of layout, in terms of corridors, passageways, everything that is to be discovered inside. Let me know what you think about these GM Out and About type of videos, and I'll continue to do more. And hopefully they'll give you some kind of inspiration for your next setting, your next adventure, or even your next campaign. So let's go and find out more about this remarkable World War II aircraft carrier. Alright, so we are now inside the Hangar Bay of the Midway, and you can see it stretches way down there. I mean, it just goes on for miles. The video doesn't do it any justice. And I mean, it's a big ship for Earth, but in the past, in your fantasy setting, are they orc ships that have orc raiding parties that would line up in massive ranks, ready to breach and raid other enemy ships? If it's a Star Destroyer, instead of all of those wonderful old World War II aeroplanes, is it TIE fighters ranked up behind us? The idea, though, is that these ships would exit from these massive overexposed windows behind me, and then they'd be lifted up onto the deck, which is quite remarkable. But how do you convey to your team just how long that is? And I think an easy way to do it would be to say, well, you start running, and you run, and you run, and you run. I mean, that's got to be easily 100 meters. That's 300 feet, give or take. So that's a long time to get from one side to the other. And it's just filled and filled and filled with aircraft and all these details. Something that's interesting, and I don't know if you can see it. There we go. You can see it in the video just there above my finger. There are all of these little divots in the deck plating which allow them to strap the vehicles down so in the high seas and things, these things don't slide away. Now, if you put those cables out and you've got them all banked down, that's an interesting obstacle that your characters can fight around, and as they're fighting around, they can cut those cables. Attached vehicles, whether it's ballista, whether it's aircraft, whether it's spacecraft, it doesn't matter. They could start to potentially swing around, move around, and attack, become a dangerous obstacle for them as they're moving through that massive space behind me. Something to think about. We're now in actually the heart of the ship, where we've got these infinitesimally small corridors just extending away, way down there, and they're all very narrow and very tight. And I don't care what size person you are, this is a small space. You've got hatchways like the one behind me, which are all obviously oval, and then they've got the step up, has been reduced here, but just very tight, cramped spaces. But look at the detailing in terms of valves and pipes and things just running everywhere. It's just phenomenal. I hope the audio is alright here. See, there's a fan right next to me. It's quite warm down here. Now, if you're in the bowels of some kind of ship and your guys are running through it, you've got these heavy-duty doors that seal and keep closed, and they've got all sorts of hatchways and control levers and things. It's those kind of descriptions that are going to be absolutely useful. So when you've got someone trying to hack through a door, when you've got someone trying to shut off valves, I'm busy looking here at these valves behind me, you've got all these different valves here. Each one does different things, so you can build in riddles of you open this valve, you hear some kind of noise, the door unlocks, you open that valve, the door seals, you open this valve, etc. So you can be really creative when moving around these massive ships. And again, you're using things like what the deck isn't moving, but of course this is a museum ship now, so they made sure that that doesn't happen too much. But if it's moving from side to side, and you've just got these little narrow corridors that you're running through, that could be really challenging to move down. And of course you've got these low ceilings behind you. I'm constantly ducking my head as I go through, and just making sure that I don't hit my head on anything specific. Anyway, just something else to ponder. I'm not sure what's worse, the corridors or the bedrooms. Look at how narrow that corridor is. There's my hand, just to give you an idea. It's literally hand to elbow wide. And then you look in there, and there's no room. It's so claustrophobic. I'm going to try and squeeze in to this space. This is it. This is all that they had. So if you were, sorry about the shakiness, that's it. Lower bunk, mid, and then upper bunk, and then you got a locker. That was it. That was the sum total. And during battle, you'd have to run out of here, try and get rest, and then down corridors, all the way down there. So this is something that perhaps you can bring into your game if your people are serving on a ship, whether it's World War II, future, fantasy, is this sense of claustrophobic space. And I don't think we often give that sense to our players. I don't think they get the opportunity to get this real tight sense. Yes, there's a high ceiling above you, but the actual bedding itself, the space, is cramped and confined. And I can only imagine what it was like down here. 4,500 crew means, on average, that they're serving 11,000 meals a day. That's prepared in kitchens like this. 4,500 crew. That's a spectacular number, and the food that's required to be stored on board is quite remarkable. These tight spaced kitchens were terrifying. Well, here I am on the flight deck of the aircraft carrier. You can see it's big. It stretches all the way behind me into the city of San Diego, as a matter of fact. But that's the deck upon which all of these aircraft will fly in, land, and get stored down below into the various chambers that you've seen throughout this. Now, this space, if I swing around that way, there's the actual control tower where the bridge is, and that kind of thing. Again, the passion, the space, they talk about the fact that the aircraft would land and no one on this level could actually communicate with one another because the volume of the sound was so great that they couldn't hear anything. Now that's something that you can use. You've got all of these TIE fighters flying out, and yes, we've got these helmets with built-in microphones and that sort of thing. They still couldn't work. The sound was just so loud. All that they're doing is trying to prevent the individual's ears from being damaged because of the actual amount of volume that they're hearing. That's something quite remarkable. It's a sound trap, isn't it? It's something that we can use to make our players have to have a very interesting fight. You can't talk to anybody. All you can say is you can tell me what your character is doing. You can't say anything. That makes for a very interesting combat, doesn't it? Something to think about. This is my final video from the USS Midway. I don't think we can get much further beyond this point without being swamped by tourists and things. As you can see, it's a very popular destination, and I totally understand why. I've been here for 3 hours already, and there's plenty more still to see and do. But I hope that this has given you some kind of inspiration in terms of running on a massive ship like this. And if it has, that's fantastic. Hit that like button if you like the video, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more, and leave me your comments below to let me know what you think of these GM Out and About videos. Until next time, I wish you and yours the happiest of playing.